Hi, I'm Kevin Hill, and today we're going to try a scene that's just a little bit different. We're going to have a forest, kind of a tree line, and it's going to be really dark back in the woods. It should be a lot of fun. And if you're enjoying these and you'd like to see more, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more painting videos. All right, let's get started. I'm just finishing up a little sketch here, and that kind of maps us out. We got our dark forest here, our fence, a little pond, a big tree. I also have clear gel right up here in this area. Nothing down here, but up in the background I do have some clear gel. All right, so that'll help because it makes the background go on a little smoother. Plus I kind of want it blurry back there, and it'll also help with that. Some sap green, black, and brown. Probably no blue. I was about to put blue in it. Let's go with sap green, black, and brown. See what happens here. Just get us a nice, dark forest look. Now we can wipe this, we're gonna have to wipe this off and probably do it again. So we're gonna put it on, wipe it off, and put it on again and maybe wipe it off again just to try to build the stain up on the canvas, because I wanna put super bright trees over this to get some maximum contrast. So anyway, we'll see how that goes. I'm not sure how well this is going to show on camera, but what I've done is I wiped off all of the paint that I could get, and now I'm coming in with like maybe 25% less, 25% of the amount. So it'll be 75% less. Yeah. Anyway, what I'm doing with that is I'm just lightly brushing it over this canvas that I wiped. You know, it's very dry, honestly. Wiping it over kind of that dry canvas. What I'm doing is I'm just trying to darken it up. It doesn't have to be perfect. I kind of like the little variation in there, but I want it extremely dark. Now, I don't want to cake up the paint too much like I did the first time, because this coat we're not going to wipe off. So you want to be able to have, you know, the ability to layer trees and stuff over this. And I'm going in a vertical motion so that it helps to get the feeling of trees already started. It would not hurt to be a little darker here at the bottom. Now I'm going to take kind of a bluish gray tone. There is some umber in there and a little red, but it's mostly a bluish gray tone on a filbert brush. And I'm going to see about getting some further away trees. I mean, we're going to have some here in the foreground that are pretty large, but these are a little further back in the forest. Wow, that works. Let's look at my brush. I didn't pick up a whole lot. You can see the difference there. Not a whole lot. So that's great. That means we did this okay. You can kind of skip around. You know, you don't have to do them straight because we're going to put leaves and stuff on top of these trees. Probably don't want them straight. Or what I mean is solid. Okay, I mean, because that's working better than I thought, I'm actually going to darken the color. Because it's showing up brighter than I was thinking it was going to. There we go. There's a couple of shadow ones back there. Just barely see those trees. Just lightly touch the canvas like that. And you get just a ton of these little things. There's one that's leaning. See that? That's what I was thinking we were going to get. Wow. I don't really do this a whole lot, but it's a fun little composition, isn't it? Of course, you've already seen what it looks like because you looked at the thumbnail. Not much is a surprise, is it? All right, just finishing up here. It's looking good. You see, I know it's too early to do this, but I went ahead and pulled these trees down, most of them past the forest line there, and it's very important because the worst thing in the world you can do is have them chopped off in a straight line. That looks a little bit unrealistic if you ask me. So we're not going to do that. So bring them down. It's a 2-second step, but it really adds a lot to your painting. All right, now we're going to highlight a few select trees up here. Just a 3/4 brush and some yellow and red, I guess. White. Got to have the white too. And just kind of touch in a little highlight. Not a whole lot. You see, I'm kind of almost letting it get muddy here. And that's an okay thing today because these are a little bit blurry and a little bit, you know, kind of pushed back if you allow them to get slightly muddy, which is kind of what we're going for. There. So if you struggle with mud, this is the painting for you. Oh boy. Definitely it's important to keep them kind of choppy because you would not get a consistent highlight across any of these trees because the canopy is thick, you know, not allowing a whole lot of light through. So you need them kind of choppy. It's a little too red for this tree. I want to go a little less red on this one. So anyway, we'll sort of highlight just some like this, not all of them, just a few. And then, boy, then we'll have a nice, decent little forest pretty quick. We should add some detail around details. Now using the detail brush, I'm just adding in a bunch of little stuff, sticks and different pieces of debris kind of here at the bottom. There, that looks good. Some of these are actually limbs. Maybe do them a little more carefully, but a lot of this is still going to be covered up by leaves, especially along the top. Not so much at the bottom, but yes, a lot at the top. Cool. So anyway, that makes it look more busy, which I think makes it actually look better. Over here, we're going to kind of cover that area up, so I'm not too worried about that. This looks pretty good. A couple pockets of negative space, but a lot of it's pretty well filled in there. Now with our filbert brush, I'm going to scrub in some grass here. You'll see I'm using a very bright, almost white. And I know what you're thinking is, where's my underpainting? Well, because I want it basically kind of washed out. You know, like if you take a picture and you know, it's really bright against something dark, it's possible it kind of gets washed out. That's kind of the look I'm going for. It'll make it look really, really sunlit, you know, very bright. We won't have a lot of contrast in the grass. Now, as far as these trees, you can paint around them or you can kind of just cover them. Personally, I think we might just kind of paint around them with bushes and stuff. There, that looks good. Some oil paint texture is fine in there. We'll glop on some white. Why not? Won't hurt anything. All right, there we go. Maybe some pure yellow here and there. Yes. Nice, not bad. All right, let's keep going. A lot less over here, actually. Most of this is going to be kind of covered at this point over here. We'll lower this just a tad. Remember, this is dry, no medium down here. Cool. Now, what we can do is smooth all this out, is just hit it with the blender brush, just to take off that heavy brushed in texture. Just smooth it out a little. Looks a little nicer that way. You don't have to do that, but there you go. You can. All right. The other thing I want to do is just grab any old random green color and just throw it in here. Just, oh, look at that. Just light enough to show against that background. And there we go. Starting to develop some of the forest. Let's see. Maybe bring in a little more light. Play around with this. Don't let it get muddy, though. It'll get muddy on you if you're not too careful. Now let's just continue underpainting. Kind of working on the foreground here. We're gonna have this really cool old rickety fence broken down right here. And I'm looking at these trees thinking they need to be pushed back just a little bit. Let's worry about that later. I don't know if I need to just hit them with maybe hit them with the blender brush, maybe touch them with the filbert brush just on the edges. We'll figure it out. But anyway, let's work on what we got going. One thing at a time. All right, now I'm going to, look at this. I'm just grabbing all sorts of random greens. I will actually need to stop here and sort of clean up my palette in a second. It's getting to where I don't have anything to work with. There, that's pretty decent. That's one thing we never talk about, but you know, if you get your palette so used up that you don't have any room to mix or you don't have any colors to work with, you know, it's great to have stuff that's laying around already made, but there's a point where you just need to stop and get some more color or clean it off if it's just getting too covered in paint. There, look at that. Not bad. That's that little pond there. We can shape that a little better later. Now, of course, as we go back, we want to get a little darker. Well, that's a lot darker, isn't it? We want to get a little darker. There we go. Nice. What I did to correct that, I threw some yellow in there, some yellow ochre. I'm kind of just grabbing random colors as we go. I like that yellow ochre though. A little golden color in there never hurt anything. And there we go, some brighter yellows too. Good. We are going to have a road, so we should start thinking about that. Or a little path, a little walkway. Now remember that dark color? We can get that here in the corner. I'm just knocking off a little bit of the sharpness on some of the sharper trees. Just have a clean filbert brush. I'm just touching the edges. I'm not trying to touch the middle much. I'm just trying to touch the edges to soften. See that? Great. Yeah, you don't want them to turn to gray, but that'll just take that sharpness off. It's a little sharp. Creates a lot more perspective in the painting, a lot more depth. You can actually walk back there now because they're a little bit out of focus. Not much, just a little. You see how I'm doing kind of less is more approach. There. Now over here, I think they're going to be more covered, so I'm not as worried. But yeah, that's nice. They're not flat. See that? They've just got a little softness. I was kind of standing back and just gauging, you know, those really kind of harsh areas, and then toning them back. Yeah, that's not bad. All right, let's just take some white and some yellow, and let's glop on. We're gonna do that traditional technique of highlighting grass, where you glop it on. There, that looks pretty good. And of course we have lessons on these. I think Spring Melt, it's like a beginner's lesson. It's actually one of my favorite beginner lessons. But it shows you in detail how to do grass like this. It really covers it in an easy to learn way. That's available on the website. Now using a clean fan brush, I'm going to fluff up our grass and just create that nice look of, you know, meadow grass. This is one of the easiest ways to do this. Meadow grass, you just lift it up after you throw the paint on. This is your second palette. There. Really, I don't have a lot of paint on today. Usually I do this with more. I should probably throw some more on. Wipe your brush frequently. That's probably the only trick. And just do your best not to overdo it. You get a little bigger as you come forward too. That's good. But another thing I'd love to see in here is some blue and white and green, like that. I'd like to see some of these kind of bluish, turquoisey grass tones. I don't know, I just think it'd be really cool. Good. Let's see what that does. Yep. Just adds that touch. Nice. And then, of course, we can pop our darks right back once you're done. Now I'm finishing up here, just wiping the canvas off where I think I'm gonna want my limbs and my leaves. Not my limbs, but my leaves. Gotta do my leaves. The limbs are already up there. All right, so the reason that we wipe that area off, of course, is just so that we can, you know, place our color without it becoming muddy. Because I want to highlight, and can't do that if it's got too much paint on it. So I'm gonna take some, you're really gonna get this palette reloaded. But anyway, I'm gonna take some yellow, some blue, and some black. There we go. Let's see. That makes a nice forest green color. That's real nice. And of course, you don't want it to just be one dead color. You change it as you go. Oh, that's kind of nice. I mixed it so quick that we got little extra things. I'm using the 3/4 brush. Here's some of our yellow ochre. I'm using the 3/4 brush because I want it to fit with that almost impressionistic, misty-ish looking background. You know what I mean? I don't want to come up here and tap it on. I think that would be the wrong effect. Because we want well, actually we want this a little lighter too, but we want a nice look against the shadows. Now it's time to drop in the fence, and I'm doing it in a very different color. I've got a very warm brown, and this is so that it stands out in an obvious way. You know, it's not going to look like the rest of the painting. It's going to be just slightly different. There, and it's kind of a style choice, you know, to make the fence really pop. You could do it in colors that would maybe match a little better, and we're going to highlight. You know, it's not going to. It looks a little weird now, but it'll be fine because we got to put some darks and lights on it, not just lights. In fact, as it is, it's maybe too light, so I will darken it just a little. There, that's a better shadow color, but I'll put more shadows in too. And some of them are skinny, and some of them are not so skinny. That adds quite a lot of variety, doesn't it? There, some of them are going to be covered almost totally as well. There, look at that. Now, maybe just one right here, kind of buried in that little bush. It's an old rickety fence, isn't it? Now, using the detail round, I'm going to very carefully drop on some highlight to these fence posts. And as you highlight, it's a good idea to roll the brush like this so that it feeds clean paint continuously down to the side you're painting on. See that? You always get clean, fresh paint that way. Otherwise, you just go about an inch and then you have to reload. That's not something we want to do. There, see that? Just maybe brighten it up a little. Extra white here and there. A couple of sparkles, that's good. And the other thing we can do is just take some blue. And there's not enough blue overall in this painting yet. So let's go ahead and start working in some blue on these little fence posts. Just blue and white. Now I'm going to go ahead and add just a touch of highlight to these bushes that are overtaking the fence. It's important because it pushes the fence back. It gives us an extra layer. And wow, as much depth as we can pack in, you know, the better, right? There, I'm glopping on just a little highlight. This is the final highlight, this really bright stuff. So look how much paint I have. That's the only way you're going to get it to stick. We've got several layers up here already. And you're just going to have to put it on a little thicker if you want it to show up that bright. That's nice though, isn't it? Look at that. Just kind of touch it here. And they're mostly on the top and on the left. You don't want to overdo it. You'll lose this beautiful effect actually if you overdo it. It won't be so effective after all. So I'll stop here real soon and go back to doing midtones and darks, but the highlights are certainly the exciting part, aren't they? It's where you give your painting a little extra boost. Just as important as the highlight, we got to put some dark in. This is just mostly black, and I'm sneaking it around the fence without trying to get into the fence too much. Although I do want to cover it up occasionally, just not too much, you know? See that? Just a little. Good. Especially toward the bottom, because what'll happen is, you know, you'll lose all your fence altogether and you have no detail there. I want some detail. We spent a little time on that fence. Might as well see it. There. But you do your lights first. Look how you can outline and make that a little sharper. See that? You do that after the fact and you have less chance of getting mud when you go actually paint your fence posts. See that? Maybe put a couple of touches right here in the grass. Just smoosh them in the grass. Now we're going to pull up, so I'm not really, I know we put a lot of grass texture in, I'm kind of ruining it, but I'm not really too worried about it because we've got some liner brush, lots of liner brush details that we're going to do here in just a few minutes. There, maybe just one or two dark ones kind of climbing up that back side. Ooh. A lot of paint in the background, that white and yellow. There. That looks like a nice little tree there. Just spent a couple of seconds dropping it in. Really didn't take very long. And now I'm going to take my 3/4 brush and see about just dropping in, there, a little bit of a highlight. Nice. That goes off the painting and maybe back on. See that? That's cool. It doesn't take a lot. I'm not going to try to over highlight this thing. It is in a corner. We don't really want to bring that much attention to it, do we? Probably not. I don't know. Probably not. Now I'm just going to drop in little lily pads here, or just, you know, green stuff on top of the little pond. It doesn't matter. Whatever the viewers think it is, that's what we're going to just roll with. There. And kind of come out. See that? Maybe get a little darker, a little brown. Come out and just catch a few more over in this area. But mostly here by the shore, I think, would look best. Good. Of course, if you ever don't like one, what you can do is just pull it down and it'll just be a reflection. But that looks, to me, that looks decent right there. Now, as far as making these look like they have a little tiny bit of depth, we don't want to go crazy, but a little tiny bit. Just hit maybe the end of one of them or two of them, like this, with a little light color. Gives it just a touch of depth. Especially if these are going to be like little lily pads, then you really need to do this. Nice. Now, let's also, because we're just going crazy with the detail, let's also just see about touching in right here, a shadow or two. Oh, that helps. Oh, not many, but just a couple, and it makes your lily pad sort of stand up. Now it's important to capture all these little details here in the foreground. It makes all the difference. So that's what I'm working on right now. Just dropping a little highlight to some flowers that I just put in. I'm getting these done before the liner brush work. In fact, speaking of liner brush work, we got a lot of tree leaves to put on. We should probably do that next. I've just been concentrating so much down here these past few steps, you know. It's all been kind of just detail. And that's good. I mean, gotta get it done, but it is time to get those leaves on the trees. Kind of ignored those guys for a little while. There, that looks good. You see how that pushes the pond back? It's not too early to begin thinking about some little flowers. Just little ones. You know, something like that's kind of nice. Subtle. It's nothing overboard or crazy. There. Just a few touches with the brush is all it takes for this painting. Now I'm just carefully finishing up absorbing as much of this loose paint on top as I can get without smearing. So you'll see it just picks it right up. But you don't want to pull it or anything, otherwise it'll smear it. You just dab it on, lift it off, and you do that all across, except for there. I didn't want to mess up my little trees. But that will allow you to highlight. Basically, it'll feel like a dry canvas is the goal, or close to it. Maybe not quite as good as when you really rub it, but there's not a lot of paint in this background. It'll be hard to mess it up. All right, explanation over. I've got my 3/4 brush. Let's just delicately drop in a few leaves, and here's the trick. Leave some of this kind of mid-tone showing. Oh, it's going to be interesting. Very light touch. You don't want to go crazy with this. But create layers in your trees this way. You can certainly get away with using with the detail round and doing some comma strokes. In fact, I think I'm going to change to that here very soon. But I did want to do just a few with the 3/4 brush. That way we'll sort of have a little more variety in our canopy. We want it a little darker on the sides. I think it might be just even a touch too bright. So we'll touch it again. See, it darkens it up a little. There, maybe add some more dark to the brush. I did stop and clean my palette off because it was just too dirty. There, so now I'm able to get all these pretty colors going again. And maybe I'll just grab a little detail brush and let's keep going. Just add an extra texture, although I don't want to go crazy with that, actually. I don't want to get too much of a comma stroke. I want more of an outline. See that? It'll create more of a blurry, distant look versus something that's close like this. You don't want it to look like that. There. That's good. Kind of mush it in a little more. Create a little bit of a muddy tree. That's okay. We want blurriness back here. It goes along with the effect that we're trying to create, actually. There. Maybe hit right here. We'll just keep going around picking out these little highlights. Don't overdo though. We still want to see a lot of the dark. Now I'm just putting the final touches on a beautiful little tree that this thing ended up being. I gotta say, it actually turned out better than I thought it was going to. I wasn't too sure how we were gonna make it fit, against all the other trees. It's just trees on trees on trees. That's all a painting is. So here's what I ended up doing, and I did play around with this for a little while until I figured out a direction to go. What I ended up doing was, first of all, standing way back and holding, I'm not joking, I was holding my brush way out here, like that. In fact, I still need to do it so I can see. Don't want to get any patterns. But what I ended up doing was just creating an open leafy tree. There's like no shadows in there at all, just highlights and maybe a couple of midtones. And this is what I'm showing you right now is the bonus highlights, almost pure white. I'm just touching it on the edge of the tree, on the leaves that I've already painted. There, see that? To create, a beautiful effect. And that helps, that airy tree looks really good. It helps the painting kind of get broken up a little. So that's it. That's all it takes. That's the secret of it. It's just don't go too solid, and it'll look good against the solid tree background. Nice. Also, we won't do too many of these highlights, but I do like them, so we'll put a few in. Nice. Maybe just a couple more. So you just work it up slow. It's not a super fast process. Kind of slow, but it works out in the end. Now really, one of the last things we're going to do is just finish up with the liner brush, and it's going to make all the difference. It really is. I'm starting with my light green ones. I'm just going to place them in over everything along the bottom. It's going to be a ton of liner brush work. And it's going to make the whole painting kind of exciting. So, you know, we get a little more detail, depth to it. Oh yeah, you get these little seed pod things or little leaves on the end of the grass. It just creates a lot of different plant life. So you don't have just one plant growing, you know what I mean? It creates a little variety. It's important. And tell you what, I'm gonna do this for a while, but I'll show you some more steps, you know, some more colors, so you get a really good overall idea of kind of the impact of each one that we do. Now look at the effect that these mid-tone grasses have. You see, they just kind of bring the foreground to life. It just doesn't take a whole lot of them, but they do a nice job. Push your rocks back, push the path back, anything that's, you know, kind of standing out. This will help it kind of sit right back where it's supposed to be. I'm gonna rinse this brush out and grab a nice dark color, just some black for the most part. And watch this, let's go right back here and paint in our dark ones. And these dark ones are probably the most important. They go right over, you know, the lights, and they push them back, and you do the darks last. Well, last or maybe second to last. The very last thing may be some lights back over your darks to finish off, depending on if you overdo your darks. It's okay to kind of allow your brush to skip along the edge. You know, sometimes you get these little broken bits, or skip along the canvas, I should say. You get those little broken bits, and that's good. That indicates, you know, overlapping grass. Not bad. I'm kind of creating a little depth here in this little pile of grass. Push back that rock somewhat, break it up, and get that light kind of just broken up. Makes it look better. Yeah. And of course, when we're done with our grasses, we'll do little tree limbs the same way, really. But there you go. Little action right there, and maybe right up in here we can just start drawing some little tree limbs. Just a light brown, and just drop them in. All right, well, I think we're done. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. Don't forget to check out our website, DVDs, and brush line. Thanks for watching.